Hello, and welcome to the second installment of High Tales with the Lit Sisters. I am Marisa.
I'm Nicole.
And we are the Lit Sisters.
We are.
And what we do here is we are your book club if you don't have a book club. We are just some comedic relief. We are your reading buddies.
Yeah. Ratchet Book Club.
Yes. Drunk history for fantasy books, but instead of alcohol, it's weed.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you haven't watched Drunk History on the History Channel, you should go to YouTube and you should watch those episodes because they're hilarious.
Yeah. And then come and listen to us because we're hilarious.
We're the Canna version.
Yes. Okay. So some things about this podcast before we get started. We will never spoiler alert forward, even though Nicole will definitely try.
I will. You're going to check me, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We do spoiler backwards. So, and we generally split the books up. So if you haven't read installment 1, which is the first part of our first book, A Court of Thorns and Roses, or ACOTAR, as it's very much talked about on social media, or so I'm told.
Because it's not like you're on there.
Because I am not on social media.
Yeah.
So today we are going to talk about Under the Mountain, which is the second part, but I wouldn't even say it's like the second half. It's like the second fourth of the book.
It's in Sarah J. Maas fashion. Mm-hmm. The last 100 pages of a book are a completely different book.
Which is awesome.
It's probably 130 pages or so, right?
And 90% of the stuff that happens in the book happens in in those pages.
That's how it always is, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's pause. Let's have our cannabis moment.
Yes.
And let's talk about initial reactions. I'll let you go first so I can smoke first.
So I said at the end of the last episode, I just feel like this is a whole different book. Like, the characters are changed, different. Every single character has some sort of big impression change, right? My impression softened of some characters. It hardened on other characters. It had me going, what the fuck, with some characters, right? So, this is my favorite part of the whole book, in all honesty.
Yes. Excuse me. This is something that definitely, in my opinion, was all of the action happened here. I could not drop the book. And frankly, as soon as I finished it, I'm like, I have to go back and read everything else. And in the midst of reading it, I kept going back to different parts of like Fire Night and stuff like that. I just really liked this book. And it's just like a shocker every step of the way.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And we really get to see Fae culture.
Yes.
Because Tamlin was very isolated. I'm not taking that out.
You have to.
That's part of it. Okay, so any other parting words before we get into it?
Parting words, I would say, I want to tell them about, I'm going to tell on you a little bit, that we had our first flub up, because when you're a podcast and you are elevating your mind to talk about things, sometimes you forget to save a recording and have to redo an entire episode where you talked about a book.
Yes.
So,
well, can I caveat that with also, we tried to do too much in one night.
We did.
And so we started the second episode and we were already very lit.
We were.
So I'm just going to assume that the quality was just really bad.
It's better for all of you,
yes.
In all honesty.
This will be a better experience. And
you can thank Marisa later.
Yeah, and this will be something that Nicole can hold over my head the entire time we do a podcast.
Let me add it to the list.
Okay. So apologies for that all. That probably set us back a week.
A month, possibly.
I mean,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Okay, so let's talk about where we left off. She finds out that Tamlin loves her. In her heart, she feels like she loves him too.
But she can't say it.
She doesn't say it.
She can't say it.
No.
And she just waves out the carriage window.
And her sibling-esque partner in crime is pissed.
He's mad. Lucian's mad at her.
Yeah, Lucian's mad. Tamlin
Which
saying,
when I first read it, I was like, Lucian, you're kind of being a dick right now.
She doesn't want to go
it's
either.
It's Tam's fault here, bud.
Yeah. And I would say this relationship, all the fear, she's worried about her family now. So she hightails it back
home.
Of course, she falls asleep again with the magic metal smell thing that we always hear about. Mm-hmm. And she rolls up to this gigantic mansion.
Yeah.
And her sisters come out and don't even recognize her.
Don't recognize her. And not only that, she's like, oh, Tamlin said he took care of them, but he didn't tell me like this. And I'm not going to lie, when I read that description of the house, I was like, oh, that's so nice of him.
Yes.
And he didn't even try and like get credit for it.
No,
at all,
he was just
right?
like, they're eating.
Yeah.
But they're eating very well.
Yes.
And not only that, they're like unpacking all her luggage and there's like jewels and gold and money.
Yeah.
And so Dad, who actually looks much better.
Yeah.
But still you're kind of irked by him. And I so was waiting for him to be like, I thought I told you to stay away. But I knew he wouldn't.
Yeah.
But he just starts counting the money, which just feels very...
Cataloging the jewels.
Yes, it's like, oh, now you're rich. I'll love you now. Do. But everybody's okay with that because everybody's okay with how shitty of a dad he is.
I guess so, yeah. Okay. That was my first impression, too. I'm like, oh, really?
Oh, no hug. No.
Let's catalog the jewels.
Yes, exactly. Elaine is just overjoyed.
Elaining it up.
Yes, and was like planning trips and like, let's go garden and
she's a very rose-colored glasses, right? Like everything's beautiful and fine. And we're going to pretend like everyone in town didn't treat us like dog shit for years when we couldn't eat. And we're just everything's going to go back to the way it was.
And you know who didn't forget that?
Yeah.
Nesta.
Which you would have thought she would be comfortable again.
Yes.
Right? Because they're rich again. But she's scowling in the corner
pissed.
the whole time.
She's pissed.
Yeah. She's not happy. I mean, it's not far-fetched for Nesta, but it's not the way I expected to
I thought she would be living her best life now.
Agreed. Totally.
But we come to find out that the little glamour that Tamlin tried, a High Lord, by the way, tried to put on her, didn't even work.
Didn't work.
Because her brain is just so freaking solid.
Well, they said it because of her iron will.
Yes.
It doesn't work on iron will.
Yes.
Right.
So, which is funny because of the correlation to iron, which we found out doesn't matter.
Do anything.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, Faye can lie. So don't believe them anymore. They just don't like to lie.
It is crazy though. I feel like that's, that it didn't work on Nesta at all. And I will say like her reaction to telling her it didn't work. She's like, I remember. I remember him coming in there.
Don't lie to me.
Yeah, don't lie to me. You weren't at some sick aunt's house. And I was like, ooh, Nesta's not as much of a cunt as I thought she was.
Well, and I really enjoyed the fact that, like, we find out that she went after her.
Yes.
Because the whole time Feyre was like, maybe my dad, but he's limping. Elaine, the delicate flower, would just cry in a corner.
Well, I mean,
and Nesta hates me, so she don't care.
Exactly.
But she knew, she tried, she spent all their money on getting somebody to help her. Yeah. And she just couldn't get past the wall.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
At all coming from her. But I instantly had, again, that's probably one of the first character shifts. Yeah. Right? Of this part of the novel where I'm like, ooh, okay. And we hear more also about why Nesta feels the way she does about their dad. Yes. And is so hard on him. Like, she's never liked him for various reasons, right? She feels like he just let mom die. Yeah. Essentially. And she was disgusted with him. So stubborn. How stubborn do you have to be that you would be like, I'll just die.
I will starve to death
to spite you.
Just to see if you'll lift a finger to help.
Right.
And Feyre, like, no wonder she's irritated with Feyre. Like, just stop so he'll step up. Yeah. Like, you're saving him all the time.
But I feel like it's that meme where it's like, you don't have to do everything. And it's like, then who's gonna do it? Because that's Feyre. Like, who's gonna do it then? I have to do it.
Yes. Yeah. So I do feel like I like that their sister bond. Like, she was like, okay, Nesta can take care of it. Right. Okay, so Nesta and Feyre,
they're actually getting along.
They're getting along. Feyre is trying to forget Tamlin,
and we find out that they found his ships that were lost at sea. So all those riches aren't wasted, plus all the riches Tamlin has. And then Elaine drops at lunch one day, or dinner, one of those things, that they're thinking of buying the better property. And it was like, what happened? Well, the entire property burned to the ground. The entire family is dead, except for Claire. They couldn't find her body.
And if you recall from episode 1 / the first 3/4 of the book, Claire Better is the name that she gave Rhys. So now she knows this scary woman not only found who she thought was her,
Yeah.
but murdered her whole family. So she's like, oh crap, not only am I in danger, I basically murdered this family. So
But
this family,
also, she was right.
yeah.
She was right that she shouldn't give her real name because her sisters and her dad would be dead right now.
Oh yeah, for sure. And so,
but what I love, she instantly looks at Nesta.
Yes.
And just from the look, Nesta's like, we need to be worried, don't we?
Yeah.
Like that.
That's bad.
That's bad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and at the time, she didn't realize how easy it was for Faye to get back and forth.
Right.
So it was like, they are really close. And so she just looks at Nesta and she just starts layering all of the things you need to do. Like, you know, if there's anything weird, just run south. Like, get off this island.
Right.
And just gives her all of the rules of the road. Nesta is just like, yes, yes, yes.
And something in that broke the glamour for Elaine and her
they
dad.
remembered.
And they remembered.
And so it's hugs, cries. I mean, basically, they probably think they'll never see each other again.
Right, because if there's a problem in Perinthian where everyone has powers, even though they're muted, you should probably save an illiterate human girl to go save the day.
Yes,
That's my go-to plan right there. Yeah.
Yep.
So Feyre's on her way. She's going back.
So Nesta will take care of everything. She goes back. She travels. Remember, this is days away to just get to the wall. And then she goes. So this is like one of the first times she's going
she
through.
She had to test the wall for like, what, 4 days? Like going back and forth to just find out.
So this is the first time she's going through the wall where she's not asleep.
Yeah.
And so the first time she's going through this forest that she knows is just teeming with lower fae, and she comes up on the estate, Tamlin's estate, and she can already tell it's messed up. Like the wrought iron gate is ripped. She walks up, there's nobody in sight.
Right.
And she like doesn't see bodies. So that's relief. She's looking around, no bodies, but she does see blood. The house is torn up. And she's like, it's crazy to think, well, did Tamlin just mess it up because I left?
Yeah.
Because he freaks out sometimes? Or
red flag.
Yes, another red flag, but it's fine. And so she like is going around looking, trying to figure out what happened, and she hears something. So she goes and hides. But again, she is a horrible hider and she's a human.
Yeah.
So everybody can smell her.
Yeah.
They already heard you, lady. They can hear a mile away.
Right.
Okay, we'll just act like you're very sneaky. And she's like saying to herself, if she just like looks through the door, she's gonna see me.
Yeah.
Like that's how close I am. But then she notices it's Alice.
Yeah.
And Alice's reaction is hilarious. She's like, God dang it. What are you doing here?
You're an idiot.
You're like, again, you're human.
Yeah.
So I feel like Alice is the only one that's calling it like it is in this book.
Yeah, I like Alice.
Yes.
She keeps it real.
She really does. And so
she busts out the whole story.
Yes.
So Feyre finally gets to hear what's really been up this whole time.
what this quote unquote blight is. And the reason we find out that Alice can finally say it is because of the fact that the spell was lifted. And so she was like, I can finally say it. There's this lady, Amarantha, and she is the general that came over, like the Suriel talked about in the first, book that we didn't really care. And again, this was one of those times where I'm like, oh shoot, I didn't pay attention enough.
Let me go
and
back.
so I'm like going back and like reading that segment again. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
So we hear about the war. We hear about the King of Hybern and how he is just very powerful and scary, it sounds like, and very anti-human.
Very anti-human.
Yes. And how Amarantha was his, highest general. Mm-hmm. And she had a sister Cynthia. And Cynthia fell in love with a human.
Yeah.
And this human just happened to be the general on the human side of the war.
Cynthia, they're not worth it.
Well, and how did they even meet? Because I feel like there's not like a bar that they would go hang out at. Like they're on opposite sides. Like, and one grow up thinking that he was a slave. Like he was less than a slave.
Yeah. Like how was yeah, that's true.
So
I didn't even really think of that.
I already like Cynthia.
Yeah.
But also, it's very sad because she is dating Jurian. Mm-hmm. And Jurian
He's playing her the whole time.
He's playing her.
We told you, Cynthia.
He's playing her for information.
Men ain't shit, Cynthia.
And Amarantha told her that he's playing her for information.
She did. I actually kind of liked hearing that story because it sounds like Amarantha was like a good sister. Like she was trying to really be like, this is stupid.
She's crazy.
Yeah.
But she was a good sister.
Well, you want crazy on your side.
But that's
a little different kind of crazy. Either way, we find out that Jurian's playing her.
Yes.
And not only, you tell it. I don't know if I can.
Okay. So he actually cuts her up in little pieces, one by one, and like sends it to Amarantha and just being like, I'm just tortured and murdered your sister who I acted like I loved.
Yeah.
Like, awful person.
Right.
Okay. And so Amarantha like stops the war basically and goes wrathfully to go kill Jurian for her sister.
Him, yeah.
Like, and the King of Highburn is like, you lost the war for us.
Yeah. Now humans get to live.
Yes.
And they're protected on the side of a wall. And guess what? I'm not sending my human slaves back. I'm going to kill them all instead. They don't get to be free.
So hundreds of years go by. There's no connection to Highburn. And all of a sudden, this woman comes and just comes to make amends. Amarantha goes around and is like, I'm sorry.
It's been a couple hundred years. Okay?
I get it now.
Time heals all wounds.
My bad.
Guys.
I've matured. Okay. Yeah. And so everybody's like, oh, she's such a delight. And she's actually friends with Tamlin from when they were kids.
They go way back.
Which also, Tamlin was like, I'm a little kid when the war happened.
Yeah.
And she was a general.
Okay.
So, like, she saw him, like, grow up, and, like, she has a crush on Tamlin.
I didn't think of that either.
Yes.
But get this way. Feyre's, like, 19 years old.
Still, yes.
You know, and Tamlin's, like, 250.
I guess we can't judge because age is just a weird thing.
Well, I mean,
still.
We can judge. We just have to equally judge.
Yes.
So.
It feels wrong.
It's a little icky.
Okay. So she has a crush on Tamlin. Tamlin never really warms up to her.
Yeah.
He's skeptical because he's seen how she's treated humans.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's not buying it. He's not buying it.
And so, you know, she says, hey, come hang out with me. And he sends his emissary because that's what, you know, the emissary's job is. Mm-hmm. She is pissed off. Lucian went in Tamlin's place because I think she was going to try to seduce him.
Yeah.
And in her rage, again, she's crazy, but in her rage, she rips out his eye and hurts his face, like scar across his face.
I mean, punishment really doesn't fit the crime there.
No, it doesn't. I wish you were Tamlin.
You know,
Grar.
You're really lucky Lucian can pull off a scarred eye and a robot eye. Okay?
I mean, in your imagination, because you don't actually know what he looks like.
I feel like I do, though, and I think he's still hot.
Okay, fair. That's your opinion.
I mean,
I still think he's like one of those guys that would be immediately friend zoned. Like, I love him, but it's like you immediately meet him and you're like,
I do get friend zoned vibes.
Boy, yes,
yeah.
So, but there's always somebody who marries the friend.
That's true.
So, you know, Lucian comes back like all mangled.
So now Tamlin's pissed.
So Tamlin's pissed and is like, F you, Amarantha. I would rather marry a human than to go to bed with you.
Yeah.
So basically, I will never have sex with you. Ever.
Yeah.
So now
we are never, ever getting back together.
ever. And so then she's, oops.
Sorry. I get crazy sometimes.
I will throw you a ball.
I'll throw a ball, guys. It's not, I'm sorry.
And since your friend's so mangled, we'll all wear masks. So that way he can cover his face and not feel weird.
Maybe that's why.
Like, look at how considerate I am. And so Tamlin says, yes, my whole court will come. Again, Tamlin, man.
That wasn't the brightest thing right there.
And so this is when the curse happens. And she says, you will have to have a human who kills a fae with hate in her heart fall in love with you.
So she's like, bet. You have to
sound like my 10-year-old son.
Bet. You need to, it's the TikTok. You need, you have 49 years. 7 times 7. You have 49 years to get a human with hate in their heart. They hate the fae. That so much they would kill a fae.
Yeah.
To fall in love with you.
Yeah.
And he did. But she didn't say it.
No. If you don't say it, it didn't happen, man.
It didn't happen. And if he doesn't do it, he's got to go under the mountain with her.
Yes. And like live with her.
The whole court. Everybody's got to come.
Everybody is summoned.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
masks and all.
Masks
for
and all.
eternity.
But if he would have done it in that 7 to 7, the spell would have been broken, including his ability to have his powers back. We find out day after day at the beginning, he was sending people out. Some people got murdered, but not with hate in their heart. And or they couldn't find a girl who would do that.
Yeah.
And so he just stopped. Feyre says,
holy shit.
Thank you for the information.
Obviously, they need a human girl to come save them.
I got this. I'll go tell him I love him now. And then the spell will be broken.
Amarantha will be like, cool, girl.
Cool. You're like 2 weeks too late, but we good.
No big deal. And Alice is like, I think it's a great idea.
She actually says the opposite. She says, you're an idiot.
She says, you're an idiot. But if you're going to go, let me give you some rules.
Yeah.
And Alice's rules, they had me actually cracking up, right? It was, don't drink the wine.
No.
Don't be a drunk idiot.
Worse. It's worse than what you had at the festival.
Yeah. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Don't make any deals unless your life totally depends on it.
And even then, make sure,
still think about it.
Is death better than this deal?
Exactly.
Yes.
Damn, what kind of deals we making here? Don't trust anyone, even Tamlin. She throws in there even Tamlin.
Yeah.
Literally don't trust anybody. They all fucking hate you, girl. You're human.
Anything could happen. And she also talks about how don't be a stupid human. Actually, listen to what's going on. Pay attention.
Yeah.
And she's like, there's one more thing that for some reason Amarantha doesn't want you to know. Because
I
still can't tell you.
Yeah.
So there's some other mystery. And she's just like, just freaking pay attention.
Listen to what you hear.
Yeah. Don't Elaine it out and just walk around like nobody can tell I'm a human.
Right.
And what does she do? She says, thank you so much. And Alice says, I've never had somebody thank me for taking them to their death.
Yeah.
And just walks away. And I'm like, thank you for saying it. We were all thinking it.
And then she's like, have good luck, man. Break a leg.
Okay, so Feyre is going down this secret tunnel, and she's hiding, in the crevices to look around the corner and being very sneaky, which I commend. But again, she's a human. They can hear everything.
And smell you.
They can smell you.
Yeah.
So you just look like an idiot.
Yeah.
But kudos for your enthusiasm.
A for effort. You get caught as soon as you come out of the tunnel.
Yes. So immediately we see the ACOTAR, and he grabs her by the arm and just drags her all the way to this court. And she's describing this what feels like very much the throne room of hell would say.
That's kind of what I described. I saw as just fire and smoke.
So I was actually picturing Lucifer. You brought that up in the first show.
Yes.
I'm sorry we keep bringing up the show that was canceled years ago. This doesn't age us.
I just recently watched all of them, in the last year.
Okay, fair. So it's this big, robust, red everywhere, very haunting-ish environment. She gets pulled in. She's looking around the crowd. She sees Tamlin right next to who she assumes is Amarantha. Beautiful woman, all righteous, sitting on the throne.
Yeah.
And she sees what she assumes is Lucian's brothers because they all look exactly like him, and they're chuckling in the corner.
Yeah.
And she looks behind her, and she sees Claire Better. And she is hanging on the wall and obviously tortured.
Yeah.
Horribly tortured.
Yeah. Intimidated, maybe. I'd be shitting my pants.
Pretty scared.
Yeah.
And so she's standing tall.
Hi. How have you been?
Yes.
I'm here and I love you. And can I have him back now?
Yes, please. And Amarantha's thinks this is so amusing.
Yeah.
And she's like, Tamlin, this whole time I murdered this other girl, you didn't tell me that I had the wrong girl.
You didn't say anything.
So
I would say that's character shift number 2. That's the first time with Tamlin that I was like, that.
But what else would he
You let that girl get tortured the whole time?
He thought it would save Feyre, though. So he didn't really have a choice. But it's still kind of ugh.
I mean, another red flag. If you're okay with someone.
No, I don't.
Dying.
He might not be okay with it, but he is solid face looking forward, not even acknowledging her presence.
He's not even acknowledging.
No.
He's in some sort of trance, it seems like. Yeah.
Yeah. And so she's like, oh, this one died way too quick for my liking.
This will be fun.
I am going to take my time with you.
I can't wait.
And Feyre's still like, but I love him, so give him back.
Or else.
Or else. And you know what this crazy woman did?
She likes to play with her food a little bit.
She looks at this ring and starts talking to it, and we find out that it's Jurian's eye.
Oh yeah, the eyeball ring.
Yes.
And his finger. She had his finger bone around it.
Yeah, so really interesting use of jewelry.
Yeah.
But Jurian's eye is like moving around. So evidently like his essence is in this ring.
Yeah.
So she's like...
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Jurian's kind of a piece of shit.
I agree.
So I didn't really feel all that bad for him, but like another moment with Amarantha where I was kind of like, girl power, bitch, because like you gonna mess with my sister, I'm gonna wear you on my hand for the rest of my life so you can watch all the deranged shit I do, and I'm just gonna like heckle you forever. I mean, girl power. A little bit of girl power. Little psycho.
Girl serial killer power.
Totally.
I feel like this is a documentary I would watch.
I want her on my team. I don't want her to be against
I don't want her anywhere near me. I want to stay out of her radar completely.
I mean...
Because she's the first person, unless you're her sister, that would turn on you.
You gotta
and put you in a ring.
It makes a good movie, right?
Yes.
Like you think you're bad? You think you just like get a girl to fall in love with you and torture her and send them to me? Like, oh, you're so bad. I'm gonna show you bad. Let me show you bad.
For all eternity.
I'm gonna trap your essence in a ring, motherfucker.
Yes. So she is crazy again.
Yeah.
Very crazy. And so she's like, you know what? I'm gonna make you a deal. It's almost like she can't help herself.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She just wants to play with her food, to your earlier point.
Therapy, and we probably wouldn't be in this situation.
No, I think she's just crazy. I think it's like...
Yeah, therapy. Like, I know a good therapist.
Well, I don't think therapy is enough for her.
All right, so she's like, 3 tasks. I'm going to make you a deal.
Yes.
I'm going to make you a deal.
3 trials, 1 a month at the full moon or something like that. Mm-hmm. And if you complete all 3 trials... I will let you go. I won't murder you. You're welcome.
Yeah.
And she's like, Alice told me not to make a deal.
I'm going to be smart.
I'm going to be smart.
I'm gonna be so smart.
So let Tamlin go too.
Ha.
And she's like, fine. And his court and give him back his powers. And she's like, okay.
Oh, you got me.
And she's like, I'll do you one better. If you solve this riddle, I will give him back his powers instantly.
I'll free all of you instantly.
Deal or no deal. And, you know, Feyre thinks about it for a second and it's like, you know what?
I did a good job.
I die now because she just murders and tortures me. Mm-hmm. Or I make this deal and probably die.
Yeah.
So, who cares? Alice, I'm going against your first rule.
Yeah. You know, all that good advice she gave me.
And deal.
Yeah.
Okay? And then Amarantha goes, okay, boys, welcome her to our court. And then a bunch of people just come beat the crap out of her.
The otter punches her, and then they all start beating the shit out of her. I'm like, what?
And she hears crack, her nose is broken, she's bleeding everywhere. She gets dragged into the cell. Mm-hmm. And so she is in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
And who comes in the door?
Lucian, to the rescue. Help is on the way, dear. Yes.
And so he's like, ugh, you look horrible, man.
Yeah, you look a little rough.
Yes. And so he like re-breaks her nose and like makes it better. And he's like, I can't heal everything. You're still going to be in pain because I can't let anybody know that I helped you.
Right.
But he was like, why did you come here and why did you make this deal?
Yeah.
You're an idiot.
Yeah.
And
what was like, Alice said that too. Damn.
Everybody keeps telling me that.
Problem's obviously not me. Yes. No. I love Lucian. Just tells it like it is. You know, he's a good best friend.
Exactly. And so a little while later, she's all beat up still, and Amarantha summons her back and basically says, hey, I don't know your name. Tell me your name. She just refuses to say anything.
Right.
And so she looks at Tam.
I see Claire. Okay. Yes. I'm not telling you my name.
I'm not saying anything. And so then she looks into the crowd and she's like, Rhysand. And he comes walking up and she's like, what's her name? And he just shrugs his shoulder like, she told me a different name.
Yeah.
And Amarantha's like rolls her eyes. And so then she pulls up Lucian.
Yeah.
And she says, hey, Rhysand.
Hold his mind.
Hold his mind until he tells me the name. So Lucian is like being tortured.
Yeah.
And Tamlin's not doing anything for his friend, just totally ignoring everything. brothers are snickering in the background.
Yeah.
And so finally she just yells Feyre. And so she gave up her name. Lucian's like crumpled on the floor now because he was in pain.
Yeah.
And then she's like, okay, Feyre, let me tell you this riddle that if you solve it, I will instantly let everyone go.
Okay, so here's the riddle. There are those who seek me a lifetime, but never we meet. And those I kiss, but who trample me beneath ungrateful feet. At times I seem to favor the clever and the fair, but I bless all those who are born brave enough to dare. By large, my ministrations are soft-handed and sweet, but scorned I become a difficult beast to defeat. For though each of my strikes lands a powerful blow, when I kill, I do it slow.
So what was your first reaction when you read that?
I knew it right away.
I know. I feel like it was relatively easy.
It was.
Well, and just the context of the backstory and stuff helped.
Yeah, I mean, I think we know foreshadowing a
Yes.
little bit too. This is I can understand why Feyre didn't get it, probably.
Yes, because she's illiterate
But yeah.
and she's a kid.
But I was like, oh, I feel like it's this.
So she's thinking like, okay, the bubonic plague, my mom
She's taking
died
it
of-
very literal.
Yes,
Yeah.
very literal. So she goes back and she's getting ready for her first trial. She has no idea what to expect. And so she gets dragged out. And on the cliff, there is Amarantha and Tamlin. And she looks down below and there's like this maze.
Yeah.
And it's just muddy. And then there's just an audience full of Fae.
Yeah.
High Fae, low Fae. Everybody's shouting and cheering.
Heckling
So
her, yeah.
I get like very much gladiator vibes
Yeah.
of like, oh boy, what have I gotten myself into? And so the adder picks her up and throws her in the middle of the maze mud pit. And she gets down on the ground and just, it smells like poop. Yes.
It smells awful.
Awful.
Like worse than poop.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Amarantha's like, okay, this is your first trial. Good luck. And all of a sudden, this big worm comes and just starts chasing her. And so she is running. She's trying to hit the corners. She looks back. She is so much slower than this worm. And so she's like, okay, gotta think smart.
Well, and this isn't just a worm. It's got like all these like teeth.
It's very Dune.
That's exactly what the sandworm from Dune is
Okay,
exactly what I thought of
apologies
too.
if that's a spoiler for anyone. We promise not to do that.
What?
Dune. If we just ruined some Dune for somebody.
Oh, we only promised this book series there would be no
Okay.
spoilers. We're
Yes.
going to spoil everything else in our references.
Fair. Okay.
I do not apologize, public. No.
Okay. So
The Dune worm.
the Dune worm is chasing you, and now that we know that it smells like poop, it is poop because it's a worm, and that they just like slither in their
a huge
poop.
worm. So
Yes,
it's big poop. Yeah.
So she juts in this little gap, and she starts running in the other direction, and she hears the crowd screaming, and she hears it getting further and further away, and that's how she knows that the worm can't see her. The worm's on the other side. So she starts
Talk about
listening.
survival skills,
Yes.
right? I would not have thought of that. I remember reading that going, oh, that's really smart.
Yeah, so she's like listening to the audience to find out where she is.
Yeah.
So her huntress lifestyle is really helping her here.
Right.
And
that
so-
no one taught her. She just learned herself.
No,
'cause
she
she's a
just
fighter.
figured it out. And so she's running, looking back, trying to find it, and she falls into this huge pit. And
Oh, God.
she like tries to back up in the corner, and there's just a pile of bones.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh crud, I just fell into his kitchen.
Yeah.
Perfect timing.
This is a
now
feeding
he
ground.
can eat me.
I might as well put myself in a pot.
And she's
set it
just
to
like,
boil.
do I hide? And people are like heckling her.
Mm-hmm.
And so she looks at these bones, and what she's like, wait a second, I got this. And she just starts snapping huge like
Thigh
cow
bones. Yeah, cow
bones.
bones.
Yeah. Starts just snapping around her legs, getting these like huge bruises when one leg punks out the other one, and she just starts building this trap where she's putting spikes on the bottom of this pit that she just fell into.
Yeah.
And then she takes some, she puts them in her belt as future weapons, and she starts building this ladder on the side.
Yeah.
And she hears one of the Fae say, what is she doing? And she hears a familiar voice say, she's building a trap.
Yeah, Reese knew right away.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it's Rhysand she knows she's building a trap. And then she looks around and she realizes the worm can only smell her. And so she starts putting all of the mud all over her
Yeah.
body that smells like poop, all over her face.
Yeah.
And she hears again.
Now she's invisible.
And so she like goes around, she starts tracking back and forth. And this reminds me of when the Suriel, when she was like tracking back and forth, trying to figure out what her escape route was.
Yeah.
And she starts like hitting bones into corners so she can make quick turns to gain some
to
speed.
even have that foresight. It's like, did you already know where the maze was and everything? I thought she seemed so smart. I was like, I would not have thought of half of this stuff.
Exactly.
I would have been dead already.
Yes. And so then, this part is so badass. So then she like gets where she can see the worm, and she goes and she takes one of the bones and she like rips on her arm, and she's like, the blood comes down, so now the worm can smell her. And it's just like, oh yeah.
Very badass. Not hygienic.
No, I did also think, oh my God, you're going to get staph infection.
I totally did too. That might be the mom in us. I don't know.
I mean, I think it's also modern society.
Right, this is Corinthian. Okay,
yes.
moving forward.
Okay, so Worm starts chasing her. She's running. She's hitting these corners quick. Lucian yells out and saves her life.
Oh, he did. He warned her when she didn't know where the worm was.
Yes.
Yeah. He's like, on your left, or something like that. Yeah.
Yes. She gets to the pit. She takes a huge leap, so she gets over it and hides in the like back corner of this person's garbage in the kitchen, I guess.
Yeah.
And the worm just comes down and hits the pit. And she looks up and she realizes the worm is dead.
Yeah.
And she did it.
It worked.
But she also looks down and realizes when she made one of those jumps, she actually broke the heck out of her arm.
Yeah.
So her arm has a bone jutting out.
Yeah.
But she like shakes it off and like stands up and throws her weapon with mud / poop all over it at Amarantha. Kind of just like, F you, I did it. And the mud like gets on her beautiful dress.
Yeah.
And she's just like pissed.
Yeah. Yeah. I found that hilarious. I'm like chucking the bone at Amarantha. Like, you got some balls on you, girl.
Not only that, how pathetic does she look? Either you like sit there in sadness, like, because you're covered in poop, your arm is hanging off your body in half. The fact that she stood up and like...
Then chucked it. What you got for me now.
And so it was just like, this ain't anything. And then she just walks away.
I'm one of 3.
I'll walk away.
One of 3 in the series. So as she's walking away, though, Amarantha's like, and only one person bet on her.
Everybody thought that it was like going to be 5
minutes. Of course, though. She's a human girl. Like, yes. I would have thought that, too. You're not beating the worm. Okay, so... She's not doing good. She's back in her cell. Remember that whole staph infection thing we were talking about? Yeah, that's happening.
It happened.
Like, she is shivering, fever, still has poop all over her.
Yeah.
Vomiting in the corner. She's got the cut on her hand, but also a bone sticking out of one side. I mean, she is not doing well.
And she's just thinking, Lucian, where are you?
Where are you?
Don't forget I'm a human. I die quicker than you.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting that she's like, maybe he doesn't know. Maybe we're so insignificant that he forgot that we're fragile. I'm like, girl, everybody know you're fragile. Yes. Everybody knows.
And so all of a sudden, who comes in through the shadows but Rhysand?
Yeah.
And
she's like, he's coming to heckle me. He's coming to
and he like looks at the puddle of vomit and is like, gross.
He's like, ooh.
And he's like, wow, you look rough.
Yeah. You aren't doing too good.
But thank you for helping me make so much money.
Yeah.
So we find out
he's the one who bet on her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then he's just kind of walking around and taunting her and is like, man.
Oh, he busts out Lucian.
Yes. So Lucian yelled, on your left, on your left. And he gets punished by Amarantha.
Yeah. She made Tamlin whip him. I don't remember how many times, but...
A lot.
Yeah, Tamlin had to whip him, and so that's... And slowed down his magic, right? So he couldn't heal. So Lucian's not doing too good either.
No.
Now, Lucian is not covered in shit with a bone sticking out, but he couldn't come anyway.
No. Rhysand is like, okay, so basically you're going to die. You know you're going to die. Make a deal. And she's just thinking through it. She's like, no. I'm not doing any deal with you, man.
Even if your life depends on it, think about it. And she's like, this don't seem right. No,
So she did the 3 trials, but she won't make a deal to save her life now.
What do you want? What do you want? Tell me what the deal is. What's the deal?
2 weeks every month. So half of her life is spent pretty much in this scary place.
A very creepy deal.
Again, why is everybody all about like capturing a girl and making them stay at their house? Yeah. It's like, what do you need rent money or something? Like, what's going on here?
Mail order bride, but she's a human? I don't know.
Evidently, this is a Corinthian thing because obviously it's happened twice to one person.
She must be a snack, though. 2 different.
Yes.
fairies.
And she's covered in poop.
They want her for 2 weeks.
So she's just still like, no, thank you. She didn't say thank you. She kind of gave him the finger in her mind.
She said, you're gross. Yeah.
He's like, okay, but Lucian's not coming. So when I walk out this door, deal is not ever going to happen.
I'm not coming back.
And you know you're dying.
Yeah.
Yet again. And so he just...
And you know I know you're dying.
It's kind of like that like chicken that you play with your kid when you're like, don't do that again or I'm going to take this away.
I'm going to shadow into the shadows.
So he's like slowly walking away and she's like, okay, 5 days. And he's like, 7 days. She's like, deal. So 1 week a month she has to spend with this guy. But again, she thinks she's going to die in like 2 months anyway.
She does. She's pretty sure after the worm thing, like, I'm no way I'm making it through 2 more of these.
Man, that was rough.
Yeah. So he's like, deal. Shake on it. You got a bone sticking out of your arm. No. Fixes her up. She's clean. No more poop. Arm's fixed. She got some new ink though now.
Yes. She has an arm tat.
Yeah.
How jealous are you right now of Feyre?
Oh, I mean, it's probably pretty badass arm tat.
Yeah.
It's a pretty badass arm tat. But she realizes right then and there, you did this to get to Tamlin. This is how we do bargains back where I'm from.
Yes.
We got some ink go up and she's like, I feel like there should have been a little bit of consent here to give me a full sleeve on my arm.
She actually was weirdly okay with it.
She was, but she was instantly like, oh shit, Tamlin's gonna see this.
Yes. Which is also like a sign of emotional abuse, I feel like. I feel like she's got Stockholm's or something.
Oh, for sure. Like your skin is tatted and the first thing you think of is like, oh my God, my boyfriend, what is he gonna think?
He's gonna know that somebody else saved me because your ass wouldn't.
Right. Oh my gosh.
And Tamlin's kind of reminding me of Feyre's dad.
Ooh, that's deep.
I know, right? And
That's
that
deep.
explains why she's like okay with it.
So
Because she
kids, it is your parents' fault.
Well, it's not only the mom's fault, I think is the answer.
True. It's usually the man's fault. That's the answer. No, I didn't think of that, but that totally makes sense because her dad was kind of distant and she had to do it herself, but she put it on herself, dude.
Yeah.
She's better now. Now, what do we got to do to earn my keep here? And then the guards come forward and she gets her first earn your keep, do this task.
Yes.
And they're like, hey, by the way, you don't get this job done, Cinderella. We're gonna
a fair amount of torture.
We're gonna do something that sounds abhorrent to you. So get this impossible task done. Go.
Yes. And it is cleaning up a floor, scrubbing a floor that just it looks a little bit dirty.
White marble, it's dirty, there's mud.
Yes.
Goes to the bucket, dirty water. To clean up a dirty floor, dirty water, it's impossible.
Yes.
There's
and
no way to do it.
The harder she scrubs, the harder the mud gets.
Right.
So it just gets worse and worse. So she's scrubbing and like, I'm screwed. I did this whole bargain thing for what? I'm going to die. And in through the door, it has to be Lucian's mom.
Redhead, older lady.
And she just like snaps her fingers and the floor is clean and the water is clean and everything's good. And she said, thank you.
Thank you for saving my son.
So
it's like, see,
somebody loves Lucian.
He deserves a good mom.
Even
he
though
deserves a better mom, but
his brothers suck.
Yeah, dude. When she was describing his brothers, like jeering when he was like having his mind held and all that.
Crummy people.
Yes. All right, so that's the first one. More time passes. They come and get her again. They put her into this room. Say there's a bunch of lentils in the fireplace. The owner of you have to get them all out. Get all the lentils out of the ash. And if you don't do it before the guy who lives here comes back, he's going to peel your skin.
Yes. Question. Did you have to look up lentils to know what they were?
No, I knew what lentils were.
So I did not know what they looked like.
You did not know what lentils were, but no. I knew what lentils were.
I know of this. I know what lentils.
You know it was like a bean type thing, right?
I had no idea what it looked like. So I definitely looked it up
so you didn't know it was like
picture.
Flat.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't. Because I was like, how hard? Like, just make a little, like, sifter or something.
Just make one.
Just use your hands. Just like archaeologists do. But now I see why it would be hard.
I mean, that would be a tactic still to get them, though. I see that. Yeah, they're flat. They're flat. They'd be very hard to find.
Yes. So she's just doing this, and it's just never-ending lentils.
Right. Every time she thinks she's got them, she finds a whole bunch more, and she's like, okay, here we go again. Now my skin's getting peeled.
Yes. And then behind her comes, what you doing here, bro? And it's Rhysand. She realizes it's Rhysand's room. And normal people would just be like, oh, shit. I didn't do the lentils, so I'm going to get my skin peeled and be scared. But she looks him dead in the face and is like, I know you're a liar. Because you can read my mind. We know this. Yeah. You knew my name wasn't Claire. And he's like, so what?
And you knew what I looked like.
Yes.
You know?
You knew that wasn't me.
You knew that wasn't me. And you didn't out me. You didn't say anything. Oh, we also, so she was like shape-shifting. We find out more like they all shape-shift to an extent. And so she's like, dude, what's yours?
Who you be?
What you got going on? And you see like talons and wings. And I'm like, that's cooler than a deer antlered beast.
I thought it was cooler until they said his feet. And I was like,
you picture like the KFC chicken.
Just let him have feet. Just keep the feet. So,
oh my god,
that's my initial thought.
I mean, and then so he does the same thing, right? He just kind of gets rid of all the lentils, and when the guards come back, they're a little disappointed. They don't get to watch this human girl's skin get peeled, and he's like, "Cut the shit, okay? Leave her alone. Make sure she's fed. No more stupid chores like this that she can't do. All right, leave her alone." Yes. I was like, oh. So finally, again, character change. Mm-hmm. Another character change. I'm starting to go, okay, why is he being nice to her? There's a game. There's something going on. Like, are you friends with somebody? Or is there, what's going on? Why are you being nice to her? Yeah. Why are you being nice?
We have no idea.
No. I don't trust him, though.
No, it's some game he's playing.
He still seems like sleazy. Like, but it's just more and more. She really can't trust anybody.
No. So finally she has non-moldy food. Yeah. She doesn't have to worry about anything. So she's just running through the riddle in her head day in, day out. What is it? What is it? What is it?
Trying to figure it out. Very literal.
Yes. Trying to figure it out when two like ghosts, like shadowy figures come in, don't say anything, grab her by each arm, and they walk through the door together.
And they make her a ghost.
Yes. She like ends up getting naked, getting washed, getting painted all over her body, even in her private parts. Yeah. And then puts this like scantily clad outfit on. So just very uncomfortable.
Like a Grecian like draped just over her boobs.
Just like
the J-Lo dress.
You can see everything. I wish that it wouldn't have been as graphic as it was. I wish that she would have not been so
that was the point.
Scantily clad. I know it was the point.
You guys can't see Marissa's face right now, but
I'm very uncomfortable. Just even talking about her outfit and how uncomfortable she must have been.
Her ears are red. Her cheeks are red. Her shoulders are up to her forehead.
Yes, I can't help myself. Okay, so Rhysand comes in and is like, hey, can you be my date to this party? By the way, you don't have a choice.
This is a promposal.
They go in.
Well, she knows. She's like, okay, he's making a spectacle out of this bargain because they did put like all the marks all over her.
Yeah, she looks Night Court all the way. Yeah. And she's like, okay, he's just trying to piss off people. Yeah. So Rhys walks in with the prisoner on his arm, which is
scantily clad prisoner.
Very scantily, uncomfortably clad.
Body paint is the new black.
Yes. Awkward. Okay. And she looks at Tamlin, and Tamlin's like straightforward, still no reaction.
No reaction at all.
Yes. And she's just kind of like, man, I love you. Look at all this shit I'm going through. Yeah. Give me like a eyeball. Yeah. Like, give me anything. No. She looks at Amarantha, and she looks a little pissed.
She's a little like, who this bitch?
She's like, oh,
what are you doing?
Why did you do that? And he's like, I needed a date. And it's just kind of like, and he just kind of said,
it's like, we made a deal. We got a deal. You see what's going on? Yeah. And when you like how he slips in there, she's going to spend 7 days with me a month. Definitely. Yes. It's like, oh, I forgot that part. He added that to the deal afterwards. So for the rest of my life, I have to spend.
So Tamlin's going to be pissed. Yeah. But Amarantha that's also a big statement to say in front of everybody. Because that's basically him saying, I think she's going to beat you, Amarantha.
Yeah. I didn't think of that either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we do this, so that way we can think insightfully like that. Oh my gosh, that's the point?
Wow. What I find interesting is Tamlin still doesn't have a reaction, right? Mm-mm. And then Rhysand just kind of flaunts her in front of him the whole night. No reaction. He's like, here, you want a drink? And she's like, oh, Alice said I shouldn't drink. Fuck it, I broke all of Alice's rules already. Glug, 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 glug. And she blacks out. She don't remember anything. Frankly, I wouldn't want to either.
God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
So she wakes up at her cell. And knock, knock. Lucian comes in. And I love this. How Lucian, best friend, I'm your bitch. What did you do? Mm-hmm. He's like yelling at her. He's like, you're an idiot. Why'd you make a deal? And she's like, she's like dying.
I am so hungover right now.
Hungover.
I am so hungover
right
now.
What happened last night? He's like, you were dancing. She's like, oh my God. And she sees her paints all like swirled up around her waist and stuff. Ugh. She's like, is that it? And he's like, I mean, kinda, but you did. It didn't look good. It didn't look good.
No.
And she's like, what did Tamlin do? And he's like, nothing. And she's like, oh, he's under some spell. And Lucian's like, no, he's not. I was like, wait, what? I thought he was under a spell at this point, too. I'm like, he's not under a spell. He's like, he's playing a dangerous game. And I'm like, okay, so what's Tamlin's game? What's his angle? So it's just more obvious that there's a lot of Feyre doesn't know.
Yeah.
And she decided to walk into this and bet her life on it. Again, I'm like, idiots! I would have come for you. And she's like, I thought you didn't know humans died quicker than immortal beings.
Well, he would have been too late.
He probably would have been too late.
This becomes a nightly thing. Every single night she gets dragged out. Again, dressed like...
Body paint's the new black.
Yes.
Here we go.
Very uncomfortable. Forced to drink this wine. And it gets to be...
I don't know if she's getting forced anymore.
It becomes a quotation forced because she's just like, I need to forget everything that happened. So just... Drinking the wine.
Alice said, don't drink.
Like, Alice is going to be so disappointed in her if she survives.
But frankly, okay, especially if this was you. We just talked about how you were all nervous even reading about this.
Yes.
I would want to get a little blackout wasted too. And
Fair.
Just be like, whatever.
Well, and Rhys is like making her dance in front of her, like sitting on his lap and stuff. So just very uncomfortable. Emotional torture.
Every night she's dancing like, Tam, you gonna look at me? Nope, still not tonight.
Let me get
shitty.
Tonight.
Yeah.
Something's going on. And Rhysand gets called up to the front and you see somebody from the summer court like cowering down. Mm-hmm. And he got caught trying to escape. And so Amarantha's like, okay, Rhys.
Do your thing, boy.
Do your thing. Tell us exactly what's in his brain, who all was involved, what's going on. And so Rhys just, again, I love how every time he does it, he has his hands in his pockets, like trying to stand in the least scary way, like kind of very nonchalant.
Yep.
He reads his mind and says, nope, he's just a coward. It was him. There was
nothing else going on.
Nobody else. And Feyre swears she sees the Summer High Lord have like a sigh of relief. So she's kind of like, oh, so he's playing games. And if you can read people's minds, like, you know everything that's going on.
Right.
So
she saw relief.
Yes.
And then Amarantha was wanting Rhys to like play with him a little bit, and he just died. And he's like, oops.
Yep. Squeezed too hard.
Up. And
yep.
Yeah, you're right. Feyre was like, She noticed that it was like kind of a mercy.
Yes. Then we get to task 2. Yes.
Right? It's time for the second trial at this point.
So for the second trial, she gets placed in like this giant cage. And beyond the cage is Amarantha and Tamlin standing up. There's, again, the audience of crowd. People. Mm-hmm. And then there is a big wall of iron between her and something in the distance.
And all the other walls are like white, slick. Yes. Right?
Marble.
Yeah.
And then there's writing and 3 levers. Mm-hmm. And she can read the 1, 2, 3, but she is a very poor reader.
She can't read. Yeah. Yes. She doesn't know what the rest says.
And so Amarantha says, use your human intelligence to figure this one out. Or your friend, dun-da-da-da.
It's Lucian.
BFF
is over there.
He is like tied up on this like anvil thing. Mm-hmm. And he is just like looking at her, looking at Tamlin, like just scared, right? And on the ceiling, there are actual like spikes.
Yeah.
oh crud, they're going to crush us.
Yeah, the ceiling's going to lower.
Like, she's trying to read it, not fast enough. Tamlin and I are like 2. So 2 is a good number. And so she puts her hand up to 2.
No, bitch, no!
Her whole arm burns. It's just burning. And she's like, ow.
That's probably not a good sign.
So she's like, let's try 2 again. Oh, no. Okay. And so then she thinks to herself, okay, well, 1, I'm all alone. Let's do this. And she puts her hand up to 1 and it's burned. And she's like, okay, fine. And she pulls 3. The gates go up.
Yeah.
She saved the day. And she just wanted to start bawling.
She did.
Because she was like, I almost died because I can't read.
Right.
And Lucian, my friend, almost died because I can't read. And so she is just like humbled. It's not like the second one where she like threw the thing and was like, F you.
Yeah.
This one, she's about to crumble.
She's crushed.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in her brain, she just hears this voice. And it says, just turn around. Don't let her see you cry.
Yeah, suck it up.
And walk away.
Yeah.
And just don't look back. Just keep walking.
Yeah.
And she's like, that's the only
Stand up
thing
straight.
that made her not crumble. And as soon as she got to the cell, she just like fell apart.
Yeah. Inside her head, Reese kept her from like, she said shattering completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gave her that little pep talk that she needed.
That was like, holy cow. That was so sad.
Well, this is when she realized, like back in her cell, she's like, I'm not leaving this mountain alive.
No.
Yeah.
Like, I'm an illiterate human. Why? Like, she finally got to where we were before she even went under the mountain.
Yeah.
Where we were like, silly human.
Yeah. Like, oh, now I get it.
Oh.
Now, when Alice said, I've never been thanked to walk someone to their death.
All of this was for nothing.
It's happening right now.
For naught.
But she's not really looking at the fact that, like, she's completed 2 of the 3.
Yes, but she gonna die. Even so, she's like, I've got another month of the misery of getting sexually harassed and stuff.
Her mindset right now, post the second trial versus post the first. And post the first, here she's like beaten up. I mean, she's dying, right? She's got a fever and she's sepsis, all kinds of stuff's going on. But her spirit in this case is a lot more broken.
Yes.
She doesn't think there's anything that can happen at this point that she would leave and save everybody like she thinks she would.
Yeah.
In between this, though, before the third trial, one of the things that I thought was really interesting and cool was when one of the nights when she was kind of being taken by the 2 shadowy figures to do her little
your naked body
paint dance every night. They overhear the otter talking about the King of Hybern with somebody else they don't really know, but not being happy. Right? He was not happy about something. So that was interesting. You kind of get a clue into troubled waters for Amarantha. Possibly.
Amarantha and King Hybern are still in cahoots.
Right. Or she's still under his thumb, essentially. Because the person that was talking to the otter was like, she's not going to like this, right? He's still pissed off about the war. You lost the war, all right? He's been waiting 200 years.
And now she made another deal that may cost the war.
You have poor judgment, Amarantha. Again, therapy.
I don't think therapy will work.
It's too far gone, possibly. No.
So the night before the third trial.
Third full moon. Her spirit's pretty broken.
Again, she has to go get drunk, get sexually harassed, no
big deal.
living her broken emotional dream.
We're just going on, 2 months of this, 3 months of this.
And she's just given up. So she's just like, Reese is not paying attention right now. She's just standing in the corner, like, again, willingly drinking just so she doesn't remember everything that happened.
Right.
And she, like, smells Tamlin.
Yeah.
And she, like, feels his fingers brush up against hers. And she's like, like a sigh of relief. I finally have somebody. He's not under a spell. He's doing all of this so that way they don't break me, but I'm almost broken.
Right.
And so he goes walking away and almost like looks back and does a like, hey, come this way.
Hey, follow me.
Hey, lady, hey. And goes behind this door. Mm-hmm. And so she slowly follows him, tries to make a different way around so people don't realize she's going right after him. And she goes into, and Tamlin and her just go at it. Like, she's like trying to rip off his clothes. He is getting paint all over his face because he is in it with her.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the door cracks open and they're both like caught. And I just picture it like just paint all over Tamlin.
Yeah.
And just like Rhysand just like closes the door and is like, what are you guys doing?
I think it called him shameful. You know, like shameful. You horn dog teenagers.
Yes. And so he like does his little like click, and Tamlin has nothing on him, and he's like, get out there, you idiot.
Yeah.
And then
Tamlin listened.
Yeah.
He just left. I was like,
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, I guess you're going to leave me alone in this closet.
I got my couple of kisses.
Yeah. And so then he senses, well, you know him, like he can.
Well, he's yelling at Feyre.
Yeah.
He's like, don't be an idiot.
And then
he kind of sounded like Lucian, in all honesty, in this, where he's like, bitch!
Like,
do you know how mad she would get?
What are you doing?
God!
He's probably thinking, I got money on you again.
You lose me this money, bitch.
And so he just all of a sudden stops and then just like jams his face into her face.
Like, what?
And the door opens and Amarantha's there, Tamlin standing right behind him.
Yeah.
And, you know, she is like pissed off that she had to kiss Rhysand.
Yeah.
And Rhysand turns around and all of the paint like that was smattered all over Tamlin is basically all over Rhysand.
Yeah.
And so he really made it look like when she walked out, her paint was smeared everywhere and Rhysand's hands were dirty.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like a swoop in and save, but also, again, that's sexual assault.
You're very caught up on this, okay?
I mean, she's uncomfortably clothed, painted on her naked body. That would be torture.
We're already talking about like a 200-year age difference.
Yes, okay. And cultural differences.
But yes, he saves her via sexual assault.
Yes.
Right.
So that night, Rhys comes in and he just sits in the corner and like hangs his head. And she's kind of like, hey, what are you doing in here? I gotta go to sleep because I've got a big day tomorrow.
And he's like, what, you don't want to talk for a little bit?
He's like, you're the only person that I can talk to. And she's like, oh, that's sad. That sucks. And then, so Rhys, this is when Rhys talks a little bit more about Amarantha and how he, like, is doing it so that, like, he's not touching her anywhere but her waist.
He's like, why do you think that's the only place I touch you? Because then that's my only defense against Tamlin, that I was doing this to kind of protect you.
Yeah. To keep you alive.
He also busts out how his father was the one who killed Tamlin's father and his brothers. But he doesn't tell her why.
Yeah.
So you understand a little more when he came back to the Spring Court and why Tamlin was so mad, why Tamlin and Lucian are like, they're barbarians, they're awful.
Yeah.
Type of thing too. So he really confides in her a lot.
Well, and knowing the background of like Tamlin didn't even want to be like in this power position. So she's like rolling through that like, oh, his whole family got murdered and that's why he had to be put in this position. So she's like getting more empathy about Tamlin hearing this story that Rhys is telling her.
And it's all about their fathers, right? So it's very much that they're both caught up into something different. So he's confiding in her a little bit more. She doesn't quite know his motives though. Yeah. It's like either way, I don't know where he's coming from and I don't know either, right? He's still bargained for a week with you a month.
And sexually assaulted you like 2 hours earlier.
He's the reason she's alive right now. He's the only reason she's alive.
Well, and this conversation alone probably helped her not to fall apart because she is just like so downtrodden. This probably was a good distraction like from like, okay, there is a bigger picture.
Well, and it's the
I'm
first
not
time
alone.
We really see that Rhys is like lonely. Like, there is a small front that's being played. We don't know why or what's going on, but we see a different side of him that's starting to make these other things under the mountain make a little bit of sense. Yeah. So again, this is where my thoughts of him, the image in my head of him is becoming less and less sleazy car salesman, right? It's becoming a little more like endearing, and I wonder more about
like it's a mask.
Yeah.
It's a mask. But he could be lying. Because we know that the Fae can lie.
He doesn't seem like the most trustworthy person.
Nobody does. Alice's advice. Trust no one.
Girl, she told you.
So now she wakes up. Third trial. Tamlin, no reaction. She's just basically like, just let us go. I love him. Tamlin, I love you. I love you. No reaction.
No, did you hear? I said I love you.
Hello.
And Tamlin basically goes, thank you.
He doesn't even do that. He says,
do that.
Who are you?
Yeah.
So,
No phone, who dis?
So for the last trial, Amarantha says, like, open the doors. In come 3 people with bags over their heads and said, okay, for your 3rd task, you have to kill all 3 of these innocent people in order to save the Spring Court. And she's like, I really don't like murdering people.
It's not what I would pick
No.
as a 3rd.
No. And so she's just like, I don't want to do this either.
She's trying to stack up, right?
Like, do I kill one person to save thousands? Like, that sucks.
What would you do?
I don't like that question. What would you do?
I mean, I'd kill him.
I know. It's like...
Line them up. Boom, boom, boom. Let's go.
Well, I would... Oof. I don't want to talk about this.
You don't want to make a definitive choice?
Let's get back to the story.
You want to table that?
Let's
take that off. Take that offline. We're going to take that offline. I'd kill him, guys. To save all of you in a heartbeat.
Okay. I would probably end up doing it, but not...
Willingly?
I would be really sad about it.
I might be sad.
I'd also feel like a hero. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so the bag comes off the first kid's face. And the thing that's just like the twist the knife thing that Amarantha did is she's making her pick up a separate knife for each person.
A clean
so
one.
she has to like do this task over and over again to its fullest.
Yeah.
And so this is a poor like boy, and she knows that like this is like a teen in our...
Yeah.
But this is probably like a 75-year-old Faye.
And he's like begging for his life.
And he's just like, please, no. And so she just does it.
Yeah.
She hears it. She feels it. She sees the red blood. Like, just feels like she's going to vomit.
Yeah.
And then she's like, shit. Now I really have to do the next one. And the mask goes off. She picks up the blade. And this one...
To me, this would be harder.
Yes.
This woman has like accepted it.
Yeah,
she's praying out loud. She's giving her strength. She's like, you have to do it. Do it. You have to do it.
She doesn't say it.
No, but that's what...
She's saying it with her eyes, which means it could have been just like, don't you dare. Please listen to God. I'm talking to God. But we're inferring that she's like, I get it. I'm a sacrifice. And so Feyre does it again.
Yeah.
And she falls to the floor. And she's like, okay, I am one person away. And she's like, my soul has just died, but at least Tamlin lives.
Yeah.
And the mask comes off.
Bitch, no! It's Tamlin.
Tamlin is the mask. And she looks over, and it was the adder who was glamored to look like
adder
Tamlin.
Or otter? Adder?
I don't know.
Adder smells right.
Let us
guys,
know.
we don't do the audiobooks, so we're going to pronounce everything wrong.
You know what? One of us should start doing the audiobooks.
We should. When we move on to the next Sarah J. Maas series, we should
we'll step up our game. Is what we're saying.
We will. Now you're just going to deal with the mispronunciations. Okay. I didn't see that coming. I would have been floored.
Yeah.
I would have been floored. Like, you sit there, and then there's Tamlin.
Yeah.
So she's going crazy in her mind right now, trying to think of everything, and she remembers what Alice said.
Yeah.
The one that Amarantha didn't really want her to know. Yes. So she said...
And pay attention.
Pay attention. Pay attention, and your senses will betray you. Mm-hmm. Listen to what you hear. So she starts to remember things that she heard Lucian say, right? Remember, Lucian said, for someone with a heart of stone, yours is certainly soft these days.
Yeah. And so she's rolling all that in her head.
She also heard the otter, I don't know. We heard, he also said it too. Though you have a heart of stone, Tamlin, when they were in the Spring Court.
Yeah. Amarantha's just sitting there being like, so you either die right here because you lost the bet, or you kill the person that you did all this for.
Yeah.
What are you going to pick? And she puts all that together. And she's like, he can't die. His heart is literally stone.
Right.
And she looks at Tamlin and it almost like is like she's reading again his eyes.
Yeah.
Again, she was inferring that the second girl wanted to be killed, so she's inferring that Tamlin agrees
also had
with her.
a lot of fairy wine recently.
She really has. It might be a problem. So she stabs the love of her life in the heart. And he like lays down and she's like expecting everything to like get perfect. And she looks down and Tamlin's not healing. She does see that the knife chipped. So she knows that the heart wasn't hurt, but he's still not healing, which means his powers are still restricted.
Right.
And so she's like, bitch, you lied. And the crowd starts being like, hey, this isn't fair.
Yeah.
Or like Lucian's brothers are just snickering like, you guys are idiots.
And then that's when Amarantha's like, well, I didn't say when.
Yes. And she's like, I said for the riddle, I would free them instantaneously.
Immediately.
But I can keep them here for as long. I will just release them eventually.
Yeah.
And she's like, but you're going to be dead before that happens.
Yeah. So then Amarantha just grabs Feyre with her magic and is like,
say you don't love him. Say you don't love him and I'll let you live.
like a bitter ex-girlfriend when she was never the girlfriend to begin with.
No.
It's looking a little desperate.
It's looking a lot crazy.
Yeah.
This is a major overreaction.
It almost takes away your badass bitchness with the jury and eye ring.
Well, again, I don't think that's badass. I think that's still crazy.
Okay. This is where I lost respect for Amarantha.
I already did.
Okay.
I might have lost respect when they referred to her as a blight.
Isn't the best look.
No.
So she's sitting here trying to force I'll let Tamlin live if you just say you don't love him. Just say you don't love. And Feyre's bones are breaking. Rhys is screaming. He grabs the bloody knife that was used to stab Tamlin, tries to kill Amarantha.
Here, she finally, realizes what we realized multiple chapters ago.
Yeah.
The riddle. So she's rolling it through her head, and she's finally like, love. The answer to the riddle is love.
And Amarantha, boom, snaps her spine.
But she's still there. She's still in essence there. And she realizes she's looking at it from Rhysand's vision.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, this bargain is doing it. And she sees Lucian rip off his mask. She sees Tamlin heal. Tamlin just goes hog wild.
Grabs Amarantha and is like... And she just goes, I thought it was so funny. I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Don't do this. You don't want to do this. Come on.
Please.
We're old buddies. We're buddies. And then Lucian throws the sword up to Tamlin and he puts it through her head and then rips out her throat.
Oh, just.
Girl.
I mean, she deserved it.
I mean,
but
talk
still,
about he ain't that into you.
That's still a lot.
That I thought was pretty badass.
But thankfully... everybody is quote-unquote saved except for Feyre. She is lying on the ground dead. As soon as Tamlin is done murdering this woman, he goes and is cuddling her, just devastated.
Yeah.
She just gave up her life for all of us.
Right.
And all of a sudden comes walking up the Autumn Court High Lord,
Byron,
Lucian's dad, which we already know is a huge dick. Yes,
yeah,
agreed.
we don't really like him.
And he just crumples up his hands and then just creates this little circle glowy thing and just places us on Feyre.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden, each one of the High Lords,
Winter Court,
including Rhysand, and then finally everybody had done it. Except for Tamlin. And Tamlin just looks up and it's one of those things where he's just so grateful that everybody did this for her because only High Lords can make somebody bring them back to life. And so Tamlin does it. She comes back to life, but she comes back very different.
Well, and okay, didn't you get an image in your head? To bring it back to Beauty and the Beast.
Yes,
this was very Beast transitioning. La, 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 la. Orange, beautiful yellow gold
and
light.
Then I remember in Beauty and Beast when that happened, I was like, oh my gosh, that guy is very, very cute. That was my first guy crush. That was the first time I was like, guys are cute. I was like, he's cute.
No lie.
Yeah.
I thought the Beast was hotter.
See, this is Bad boy, good boy. That's the difference.
I thought the Beast was like kind of charming and endearing, and like I just imagined like a lumberjack, like if the guy version of him is like more of a lumberjacky facial hair, not
that's a
white
lot
Jesus,
to tell the world.
not what.
That's a lot to tell the world.
You just told the world you like white Jesus, basically, because that's what
you just told the world you're into bestiality. Okay, so to go back to Faye v. human.
Yeah. All right. So she's awake. She's stronger. I also got very like Bella from Twilight vibes.
Yeah.
Like I'm gorgeous now and I'm glowing and
Yes.
I have pointy ears. Look at my ears. So Feyre feels like this pull in the middle of the night and just kind of knows it's Rhys, like down this like bargain and everything. So they have a conversation and she's like, why did you try and kill Amarantha? Yeah. Like, why did you do that? And he said, because I didn't want you to fight alone or die alone, which is exactly what Feyre said about the Fae that Tamlin brought in that she couldn't save. And they were like, why did you stay there with it? So
and he was also like, I wanted to go down in history on the right side.
Yeah,
even if I died.
He said, even if I died, I wanted to go down where I should. Yeah. So you're like, okay, again, fair. Character change, right? Like he's not all bad. And then what I found super interesting is he starts to fade away. Like he's going back to the night court and he looks at her shocked and stumbles, right? And that's where we end the book. So my thought, what did you think it was? Do you want me to go?
Yes, you go first.
I think he saw something in her magic, right? Because we do know she's high fae now. So I think there's more to it. Yeah. And maybe he saw something in her aura. He seemed scared though a little bit. So part of me when I first read it was like, ooh, is she evil? Is she like, is it something like that he saw?
I actually thought it was him seeing something in where he was going. So like something was happening wherever he was like going. Yeah. And he was reacting to that.
Makes you talk about a cliffhanger though.
Yeah. It made me like want to jump into the next book like immediately. Oh yeah. So what was like the favorite part of the book?
I mean, I have to say my favorite like mission was the cereal when she caught the cereal. I just found that whole thing very interesting and I think more of a peek into the world we were entering and that we didn't quite know in this book with that one character, right? Like there's going to be so many more things we don't know about that we're going to meet and stuff. Yeah. A good view of the world of Perinthian, I guess. Yeah. 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 The cereal's also probably one of my favorite characters. I think it's a woman.
So,
because she's badass.
I think so too. Mine was definitely like a tie between the whole thing with the first, like the maze. I love like the way she wrote about it and just like imagining what was happening. I was like, I'm like imagining the best part of like a movie. It was very, very cool.
That's true. I will say if this is ever made into a movie or a series, is gonna be awesome. That's going to be the one where we're all judging and like, it was better in the book.
Yeah, fair. But I would say it ties with the whole interaction on the bargain, like between Rhysand and Feyre. Yeah. Like the whole, like she knows she's going to die and all of this stuff and the back and forth. For some reason, it's very like Kiss the Girls almost.
It was an emotional impact moment. Yes. Right? Like her sickness, her confusion, her fear, but then also like the kindness, but also smugness and scared. And like, it was just a lot of feelings.
Well, and the like, Tamlin's gonna be pissed, but I'm not even gonna survive. And just like, it was like, holy cow, so much is going on in the moment. Yeah. But I'm glad she took the bargain.
I am too, yeah. All right, who's your favorite character now?
I mean, Feyre. Yeah. I know, I'm sorry. I know that was my answer last time.
It's hard not to, though. I mean, honestly, when it comes down to it, you're going under the mountain with a bunch of gods.
Yeah. A close second
You're either
is
cocky
Alice.
or delusional. Yeah. Yes. Alice is just one of those characters.
I mean, every book needs a character like her.
Yeah.
And I hope she stays in the series so that way we can see her like grow with the characters because I really like her.
She was a good like comic relief.
Yes.
And I feel like if this was like a movie, like Lucian's best supporting actor, obviously.
Yes.
Love me some Lucian,
Yes.
man.
Yes.
Yeah, his interaction is always great in there.
Okay.
First book done.
We finished it, and we only had to do it 3 times.
This is what you get when you listen to High Tales with the Lit Sisters, you know?
We just perfect it over time.
Yes.
We will get better and better because the next book is...
A Court of Mist and Fury.
Yes. So, in the series, where does this rate in your 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5?
The Court of Mist and Fury?
Yeah.
It's probably my second favorite.
Where did the one that we just finished land?
Like 4th.
So, I'm around the same rankings, which just like goes to show how this book was very entertaining. I couldn't put it down.
Yeah.
But it only gets better.
Well, and here's the thing. That's the first book of a series is typically ends up being the worst. Its job is to set the scene and pull you in. Yes. And I think it is just that.
Yes.
You get just enough that you're like, oh,
yes,
it's about to get bigger. And it is about to get bigger.
It really
Way
is.
bigger, yeah.
Okay, I'm very excited to
Where
come
does the
back.
next book rank for you, though? Mist and Fury. Court of Mist and Fury.
So I would say number 2.
Yeah. I think we have the same number 1, too. We're not going to talk about it yet, though.
No, it's a secret.
Okay.
Okay, well, join us next time. Bye.
Bye.